Sounds good. So I'll call this meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. and hope that some more committee members join us. Thanks to everybody. I'll do introductions just because we have guests tonight. So I'll call the meeting to order. My adjustments to the agenda, I'm going to add introductions, and then I'm going to move public comment and minutes approval to the end of the agenda after the presentation by Edgeworks, so they don't need to sit through it if they don't want to. So I'll just go around the room. My name is Gabby Kafrida. I'm the Planning Coordination Committee Chair and the WRC Chair. I'll go over to you, Matt.
Yeah, hello everyone. Matt Bockler, Senior Planner at the Windham Regional Commission.
Edie.
Hi, everybody. Edie Edwards with the town, representing the town of Halifax as the Windham Regional Commissioner. I'm pretty new to this group and to working directly with the WRC. So it's me.
Bonnie's our other commissioner here tonight. Oh, you're muted, Bonnie.
Bonnie North of Rockingham.
Oh, hey. And then Peter, you are from Windham. Sorry, you're not a voting member, but you are a commissioner. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I thought it'd be good to pop in.
Great. Chris?
Hey, Chris Campen, Executive Director, Windham Regional.
Mike? I'm guessing everybody probably knows Chris and Mike and Matt, but just in case.
Yeah, Mike McConnell, also Senior Planner for Windham Regional, and I have a small part in the regional plan as well, so I'm here to listen.
Yeah, I think, Gabby, this is Mike's first kind of quasi-formal introduction to the commission. He'll join us for exec board too. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you.
And then Cynthia and Ed, I'll let you introduce yourselves.
I'm Cynthia Ryan, and I'm the creative talent at Edgeworks Creative. I'm the CEO, and I am in charge of the creative end of things at Edgeworks Creative.
Welcome. Nice to meet you.
And I'm Ed Rudy, co-founder of Edgeworks Creative and the development lead.
Thanks. Nice to meet you too, Ed. Oh, and here's Stephen. Let Stephen get on before we start the presentation. Hey, Stephen Chait, are you there? There you are. Hey, Stephen, we just did introductions. So you're at the perfect time to introduce yourself.
I'm sorry?
We're just doing introductions since we have Edgeworks Creative here as guests.
Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. Stephen Chait, Commissioner from Halifax.
And then Cynthia is the creative and Ed is development. And I guess okay, good. Both
that makes him in charge of technical stuff at Edge.
Great. And so, Stephen, just so you know, I've moved adjustments to the agenda. I've moved the public comment and minutes approval to the end so that we can do our presentation from Edgeworks at the front end.
Thank you.
Okay. And, and with that, I'd like to thank Edgeworks for being here tonight. And I think we're really excited for your presentation. We're excited to be working with you on this project. And that I'll turn it over to you all.
Thank you. Yeah. Ed, do you want to bring up the presentation and get us
Yeah, and let me know if you're not able to. Okay, you are able to share your screen, so you're all set. Thanks.
You're still muted, Ed.
There we go. Sorry. Yeah, so that was a great start. Thanks for having us here tonight. We're really pleased to be working with WRC. Our goal in what we're going to present tonight is essentially our understanding of what the project is and what the process has been so far, and where we're going, because we're only sort of toward the beginning middle of this project. So as far as show and tell goes, we can show you bits and pieces, but not a final product, because we don't have a final product yet. We're working on it. In any case, as you all know, WRC is responsible for publishing and maintaining the Windham Regional Plan. And that's pretty much the work product, right, of all the efforts that they're putting in. And that document is used to help drive regional development in the built environment and in the communities that WRC serves. It's essentially used to sort of guide the day-to-day operations of member towns as they're making decisions and performing work. The plan is currently a PDF only document, and our work in general is to bring that document a little bit more to life on the web. It was first published in 2014, readopted in 2021, and over the next, I believe, year, just about, they're finalizing changes to sort of the next iteration of the plan. That one's you, Cindy. And now it's your turn to be muted.
Can you advance to the next slide? Sorry. We had to have one person in charge of the slides. Okay. So we're trying to convert this document into a website user experience that's going to highlight the most important details and facts from the document and make it into a more interactive and engaging experience. So ideally, the website users are going to be able to have a much more rich and inviting design and user experience. They're going to be able to visualize the data interactively, and thus allow the users to interact and engage with the maps and sift through the tabular data for discovery. And it's also important that the content that exists on the site is going to allow the visitors to print the full plan or portions of the plan, so that, because there's still going to be times when the site users are going to want to have a hard copy of the plan for their reference. And so that's all part of our goals for the site. There are other goals as well. We're going to be utilizing best web practices for web accessibility and providing a responsive design so that the site will look good on tablets or a desktop machine or on a mobile phone and so forth. There's going to be some things that when you get into tables and stuff that on a mobile phone won't work quite as well, because we've got some really large charts and tables and things like that. But for the most part, it's going to be working quite well in a responsive to the devices viewing it. So the team that we're working with mainly at the Windham Regional Commission is Matt, and he's our project lead that we're in close communication with on all of this. And then we've met as well. So the team obviously put this out for RFP. We were the ones who landed the work, and we had a project kickoff meeting on August 25th, which is when we started the project. And at that point, we met with Chris Campy and Susan, and now we also have Jeff working with us on the GIS and mapping, and Mike has come on board, and I believe this is the first meeting that we're getting to meet Mike. So, and we also have the team at Edgeworks that's working on this, and that includes me as the creative director to work with the look and feel of and to massage the content and really organize the content. And then Ed is our web strategist and lead developer. And then Darren Rooney, who's in the picture, he's our designer and a front end developer, which means the front end of the website is the portion that the people see when they land on the website. Adam Lacombe is a full stack developer. He'll work on the back end of the website and kind of the things that you don't necessarily see, but that are really important in order for the site to function properly. So a lot of the code end of things. And then Megan Hamlin, who works with us, she's in charge of quality assurance. So she does a lot of the usability testing and making sure that everything is actually functioning properly on the site. So that's the core team that's working on this project.
So when we approach a project, and Matt can speak to this, offline later if he wants, but we respond to any opportunity with a fairly rich document, as our proposal for how we're going to move forward. What we're going to show in the next slide, just understand that it represents what our understanding of the project was before we had done any discovery hand in hand with WRC. And of course, the picture has changed a bit since then, but this is just, of how this process has been so far. So basically the heart of what we're doing, we call the scope of work. And basically we sort of mind map out the pages that represent what a site, what a regional plan would look like online. So the gray center is sort of is the home page, and the items that are on the left side, regional goals, educational cultural resources, regional economy, etc. Those were all of sort of sections of the plan, and we assumed that we would break the plan down into those sections. And then for illustrative purposes only, we expanded on one of those to show that a section would include the assets that are associated with that written section, the summary, policies, the different pieces that make that go into essentially one section. And then beyond just breaking down how the site is organized, our document anyway, also focuses on what sort of interactions might take place on those pages. And so for the regional commission, what we really wanted to do is, as much as possible, make the data engaging, make it potentially reactionary to user adjustment, make a chart that you're looking at it in one view and you can click and see it as a table of data instead. Those types of user interactions to really make something that's better than a PDF, really, in the experience wise. And hopefully draw users a little bit closer to what the data is all about.
So our process that we're going through on this is broken down into 3 distinct phases. And each one of these phases ends in stakeholder approval at the end of each phase. And this project will also have a period of public comment that's going to follow the coding phase and precede the deployment, site deployment phase. And during that phase, there's going to be feedback on the plan that's obtained. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. And then that feedback will be incorporated into the plan prior to the launch of the live site. Then we're currently deeply into phase 1, discovery and design of the site. And if you could launch the XD at this
Yeah.
point? Thank you. Okay, so
You want this one?
yes, we'll start right there. So what we've done at this point, this is kind of the work process that we've been going through, is that we delved into the existing plan from 2014 and really broke it down and looked at how it was organized and tried to translate that into how the navigation might work on the site. And if you could scroll down a little bit, we tried to organize it and worked very closely with Matt on, and I know he worked with all of you as well, to determine what the pages on the site might be based off of the existing content, and with the understanding that the new content might be different. You know, things may change for sure, but we needed something to go by so that we could develop the navigation for the site, because that's core to how the site is going to function. And then as part of that, in the magenta color, the pink color, we were trying to identify what kind of pages those pages would be, because when we build websites, we build page templates that determine what a page is going to look like as well. So we went through it and really spent some time taking apart the existing plan, translating that into navigation and into page types. So that was the first phase. We could navigate to the next one. Oh, there's all right, and then we also looked at the sites that were given to us as reference sites of ones that there were things on these sites that people really liked, and started looking at those design considerations of things that we might want to incorporate into the design. And if you could scroll down slowly, so there were some things about like a lazy load, because that's nice and engaging. I don't know if you know what a lazy load is, but as the page comes up, it things appear by kind of fading in as you're moving up the page. That was one of those nice features. And so we're not sure if we can incorporate all of these kind of ideas, but these are things that we liked, and that you liked from, you know, that there was feedback that were some of the things that were liked. So we took those design considerations and kind of gathered them together. Yeah, you can go to the next one. Then we started to work on the design language that we were going to be using in the site. And so we started with the existing logo at the top. And what I discovered was that you really didn't have a logo that was high res. And so we ended up, you'll see, taking that logo and recreating it so that we had a high res vector image. Vector means created out of math rather than pixels. And that allows for a higher quality image. So you'll see that on the next screen that we go to, and taking that logo and starting to develop a color palette from that we can work with. And as we developed the color palette, we wanted to definitely bear in mind accessibility on the site, because we need to keep that color contrast. And so you'll see this fail, pass large only. That's telling us what we can use those colors for on the site, because certain we have to have an 80% contrast ratio with the background in order for something to be accessible on the website for people with lower visual acuity. And also some people have issues with color blindness. So on the right hand side, we looked at all of the color palettes in the most common 4 forms of color blindness to see how those color palettes would work in those situations. And then if you could scroll down a little bit further, and we also worked with different typography to try several different samples of typography and ended up with some choices made there as well. Okay, so if you could go, and then from there, now we have at the top the new logo that was created, which is very similar to what you had before. We just tried to recreate it. The new color palette, yep, that was chosen, which was very earthy and kind of a berry and a very nice palette that we ended up with. And then the typography that was done below here was taking the existing plan and really looking at all the different style sheets that were used within the plan, and then designing based on the style sheet all of the different elements that were used within the plan, so that we had a style for each one of the different elements to start moving forward with as our different elements of the design. If you could go to the next one, Ed. So then the next step was really working on the navigation, and we wanted to, with the navigation, make sure that from just the top navigation that you could access all of the plan without having to, with nothing missing. So, and that it easily made sense for any viewer that was using only navigation to access the site. So when we design a site, we want to make sure that a site can be accessed no matter whether that person is there generally are kind of three types of people navigating the site. It's three ways that people generally like to access sites. Some people are just all business, and what they're going to do is they're going to land on, hit that search bar, and they're going to just type what they're going to look for in the search bar, and that's the way they want to navigate the site. So we got the search bar up there, we got them covered, they're going to be fine. Other people like to go to the menu and find what they want in the menu, and we wanted to make sure that from the menu you could access everything directly from the menu. And then we have other people who like to peruse the site. They just like to kind of discover, and that is what the homepage is for. We want to, within the homepage, direct them in a discovery way of just clicking and discovering page by page the content. So that's what we'll go to next. But if you scroll down on the page, oh, there we go. We went through kind of each section, and it's a mega menu where if there is more content, there is an arrow, and if there's not, and it'll quickly navigate them to the interior sections of each one of the pages. All right, and it may get a little bit more design to it, but this was really all about functionality and making sure that functionally we could get all of the content to fit because it's a lot of content. So
yeah, when we get to three
Yep.
levels of hierarchy, this menu system works pretty well because otherwise it becomes difficult to expose all of the sibling pages for navigation.
And if I can just add quickly, sorry to interrupt, but since Cindy mentioned it earlier too, that the navigation system that Edgeworks has designed here is based on the current plan, just in terms of main topics and subtopics within each of the plan sections, and we're anticipating that this will be updated as we update the content. But as Cindy mentioned earlier, we kind of had to start from somewhere and kind of setting up the navigation for the site. But it will be easy for us as we develop the content to adjust this once we get to that phase of the project.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could I just ask a quick question? On the screen, plan areas is in blue and everything else is in black. If you click on implementation, does that take you somewhere?
Oh, yes. So I was trying to show that I was trying to show to Matt that plan areas is what is active right now.
Right.
And this is showing all of the plan areas, and natural resources is what's been clicked on. And now when you click plan areas and you click natural resources, this is what is showing. right? But if you scroll up, Ed, or down, just so I can show, there we go. But now, if you click regional profile over here, which is blue, and demographics, this is what is showing. I was just trying to kind of show how different sections, yeah.
Right, so each of the titles along the top is something you can click on that will lead you to, it sort of click on two things and then you get the material.
Yes, once it's actually made as a as a website. This is just a design document that we're looking at currently.
Thank you.
Right. All right, if you could go to the next screen. All right, so then we started concepting ideas for the homepage, and this was just like roughing in ideas. This is where we started. And then can you click to the next one? This is refining it a bit with Matt, and then go to the next one. Here, this is where we came to, which got quite clean, of sticking with the iconography, so that it was very, very clean and simple. That we felt like the images were actually not clear enough as to what they were representing, whereas the iconography was much more clear. So we've got a very simple homepage that, so this is for, one more time back there, Ed.
Sorry.
For people who want to do that browsing kind of approach instead. From the homepage, this is their funnel into the content. And so this allows them to access everything through iconography and links on the homepage rather than going through the navigation or through the searching, so that they're going to be able to access things this way.
I'll just note that before we show this to too many more commissioners, we'll probably want to replace those turbines for energy with maybe solar panels or something, or sunshine.
Solar panels, sure.
Given our history with wind power in the region, that will be a lightning rod for sure. No pun intended.
Okay, let's switch that. Solar panels, not a problem.
I think puns are great.
Okay.
Good input.
I've got a note. Good input, yeah. Excellent. Okay, and so then now where we are at present is that Matt and I are working through working on the remaining pages. So this is we call it a CMS. This is like a straight up page where you have just text basically, and showing what a straight up page with just an image at the top. Want to scroll down, Ed, would look like. And then, just straight up, and then go to the next page. And these aren't approved or anything. This is just the first time Matt's seeing them too. So, and this is, yeah, this is just showing one that does not have as big of an image at the top, and has a little bit more going on with bullets and a little bit more formatting. And then like a section page, and this is with an accordion treatment that I left all the accordions open, but this is looking as a landing page where we've got forest resources, and scroll down and we've got, surface waters and things. So that I'm just starting to work out what the content is. And this is my first pass at that. None of this is for sure in any way, but this is like a first pass, rough pass. So kind of, and scroll down, this is like looking at starting to put in some images and tables and so forth. So this process will continue as I build out each of the different page types and work with Matt to develop what those are going to end up looking like. So, but while we've been working on this phase, the development team has also been making progress on the functional aspects of the site, and Ed is going to speak to that phase, which is the coding phase. We needed to keep that moving as well, so that we can hit all the deadlines on this project.
Sure. Yeah, in a typical project, there's a real clean delineation between when we finish a design phase and when we start a coding phase. But in this project, there's some things that are just different, you know, instead of, anyway, so so we've already started coding some aspects of the project. I haven't been coding with the idea that we'd be doing a presentation. So everything has really been about stuff to make my life easier, and working on some of the administrative features of the site. So I will, actually show you a couple of things. So one of the first things to note is we have implemented that style. So this is the typography that was decided on. And one major piece that, you know, like I said earlier, we're really focused on is we want to make, you know, the data a little bit exciting. And so part of that has been, we've been working on developing a library to work with Google Charts API and provide a method for you or us or whomever to put in the data that becomes the chart. So that's really what largely been working on. So essentially, we've implemented all of these chart types: line, area, bar, bubble, calendar, so on and so forth. And then basically, and this is a little slow because of how I'm set up, and I'm sorry about that. But essentially, we've created, you know, the administrative interface so that you can create a line chart with however many columns and rows of data, you know, are the same for you know, for bar charts or column charts, so on and so forth. We've also made it so they're interactive, right? So if there are things that you can do to a chart, you know, so you can click into a tree map, right? Those all exist. I think this is one. Or, okay, you know, or you could say, okay, yeah, I don't want it 3D, or I want it to be a donut chart. But interestingly, or maybe not interestingly, in my last conversation with Matt, he had said, well, this is all kind of cool, but can we just upload a spreadsheet? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
the old spreadsheet. We all love that, right? We should go get free therapy. In any case, so it occurred to me that, yeah, probably we could do that. And so starting with the easiest one, because that's the best way to start, with the pie chart, essentially here I have a chart that has two items, 34 and 66. And if I come here and, you know, I just add, whoops, you know, another thing, make this 22 and this 4, and then I come back here and preview it. Well, I've made a change on a Google sheet, and now that's reflected on the data that ends up reflected on the site. So that's one piece, and the other piece is then we're curious about you know, the GIS mapping stuff that you guys have, and you know, this is, you know, it works. So that was a question whether or not we could embed that stuff, and the answer is yes. It's a little bit wonky on mobile, and I think part of that is maybe unavoidable, but part of it might be there's ways to generate these maps that are a little bit nicer for mobile, and I need to look into that a little bit and maybe communicate with Jeff if I find anything. Jeff, right? Yeah. So there's that. And then I guess what else can I show you? I mean, essentially that's really it. I guess, you know, in terms of like actually editing this stuff. So this is a page of content, but the chart itself is a different item of data. And so basically you're embedding, you know, we're embedding those charts in the content. So that's another piece that we've built specific for this, you know, project, is to be able to come in and say, okay, yeah, I want to put a chart in this space, and you know, here's all the charts I've made. So let's go ahead and put our combo chart in there, and we'll go full width and save that. And then if I go to the actual page, then my combo chart should be, cross your fingers, should be there. And it's only this slow because of how this is set up. I have the database on a different machine, and of course it didn't because I needed it to. In any case, we're still 130 days out, so we have time to fix that. But essentially, this phase of the process, once we get more of these underpinnings built, then by then we should have some decisions about the content, and we can start laying that in, and we get more hands onto worried about what the front end of things looks like. That's just not where we are right at this moment.
Real quick, that this is one of the reasons for trying to go with a digital plan, is having a more interactive plan, as opposed to static maps in a book or in a PDF. This way, users can actually engage in and with the plan, with maps like zoom in, zoom out, but also potentially animations, for example. So like we did the E911 mapping, we could show where structures are located over time, right? So you can kind of see, oh look, here's rural sprawl and over time, which look where the structures are getting built, and potentially even like other tools. We create what are called measles maps, like to show what different zoning could potentially create in the landscape, as far as like if you've got 2 acre zoning or 10 acre zoning or 5 acre. We can even show those kinds of examples where there'd be like an active engagement with the plan, again, as opposed to static pages.
Yeah, and the other thing moving to a website allows is, if there's there's what, 7 or 8 years between the publishing of each version of the plan, like between that time, data is being gathered and accumulated and understood, but it doesn't end up getting shared. And this gives an opportunity, if it makes sense. I don't know, what the bylaws are or whatever, but where there is that opportunity to share data that's maybe more timely.
Did you have a question, Stephen?
Well, I did actually. In the text that was shown, the print was very small. I assume that's just a working situation. What's the font and the size of the print going to be when it's seen on screen?
I assure you, it will be very readable, and it's not it's by pixel, and
I'm assuming a user could make it larger or smaller.
We'll make sure. Yeah, this is going over Zoom, and it's but we'll make sure that it's quite readable. And so this is a style sheet. So if this is too small, it can look. Ed is showing you. It's very easy for us to actually just target that style sheet and change the size.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure and work with Matt to make sure that
I'm with you 100%. We haven't implemented it yet, but there will also be this, sort of trigger where you can just make things bigger. I'm 100% with you. I constantly find myself zooming in to read because,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And don't forget too, Stephen, and everybody else, another benefit of a digital plan is, like, let's say you're looking at it on an iPad or something else. The phone's going to be awkward, but you can always zoom it in yourself to as large or small as you want. So that's something, again, it's going to be, yes, you can do it with a PDF, but it's not going to be quite as dynamic as this.
Yeah. On a PDF of that size, you get into issues with optimization and having the quality and having it get pixelated as far as text and so forth. And so, well,
thank you.
Text, sometimes you can keep it, but at the right resolution, but it can get hard when you have charts and so forth to have that at
Cindy, just
not
FYI.
getting pixelated.
Cindy, FYI, we're at 31 minutes.
Are we running out of time?
Yep.
Okay.
That's okay. I think,
All right.
I think
So
Edie,
the,
oh, just before you move on, I think Edie has a question.
Yeah, I was just
oh,
gonna,
Edie, yes.
I was just gonna say with, when I see things like embedded charts, and I guess the question I have is, will people be able to actually download the data from a chart at any given point? Is that part of the design thinking?
That wasn't. However, here's what comes to my mind is if a chart is being derived from a spreadsheet, there's no reason we couldn't make the spreadsheet downloadable.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, because the way the data is stored in order to present the charts, it's actually a format called JSON. The average person, while it's human readable, wouldn't necessarily know what to do with it. Whereas if we share a spreadsheet, then they can make their own chart if they want.
I actually know what JSON is and can read it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I have a
All right.
question.
So the final phase of this, yeah, go ahead.
Well, as to the ongoing administration of the site, is this a continuing relationship with the developer, or do they toss the keys to the WRC at some point?
Yes and no. Look, it's the next slide, I promise.
Yeah, we're gonna go through that. we're gonna cover that.
I'm gonna step out.
right,
I've
so-
done so many of these dog and pony shows. I just want to say everything looks very legit and perfectly straightforward to me.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, great. All right. So next phase that we go to is site deployment and training. Well, actually, before I say that, I should say that at the end of phase 2, obviously there will be the all of the
Public comment.
Public meetings, a fully functioning, the public meeting and the public comment. You'll have a fully functioning staged website that will be delivered. And in-person staff training on how to use the website, including all the editing capabilities and all the roles and permissions and administrative help files for the website will be available to you. And then there'll be the public comment period, and then any changes from the public comment period will be implemented. And then there will be a testing phase on our end for quality testing on the site. And then we're anticipating the launch of the final fully functioning website in spring of 2024, along with a second, if desired. It'll depend on how much you guys interact with the actual website and edit it. In the meanwhile, if you want another training, we can do another training on all the editing capabilities and get everybody set up for editing the website. And then that brings us to the question that Peter had.
Sure.
So,
yeah, he said, is this an ongoing relationship? Well, we kind of hope so in some ways. We want what we're building in general for any of our customer. We want to be able to hand it to them so that they can manage their business affairs on their website. Then part of the way we do this is everything that we develop on our own CMS. The CMS itself is comprised of some open source software, but we don't use an open source platform itself. We built our CMS on these sort of 8 tenets that it needs to be easy to administer, rather than having our customers log into their website and be presented with, oh, I have to update my theme and I have to, download this patch and I have to apply this widget. And we try to eliminate as much of that as possible and make it just so you can focus on your own, business objects, basically. So while we try to make it simple, we also try to make it powerful. So we give you the ability to edit nearly everything on the site yourself. But we don't make it too powerful. And by that, we do things to keep the design integrity in place. I don't know if you've ever seen like, someone has a great new website and then like 3 months later, there's, flashing magenta text and, everything's bold and underlined and, those sorts of things we try to avoid and keep you coloring sort of inside the lines. So we remove a lot of the fuss, and by that I mean like things like widgets and themes and plugins, and we take all that and we put it on what we call under the hood, and we manage those things for you. So that you can focus on your business and not worry about website maintenance. That's part of what we provide. So our platforms, it's modular, secure, fast, dependable, adaptable, and it's friendly to APIs. So that lets us do things with other providers, whether that be shopping carts or Google Charts. As long as there's an API, we've built our system to be pretty friendly to it. And then, having a site is great, but you need to have, we encourage you to have an understanding of how people are using your site. So we make ours accountable in that as soon as you've logged into the site, you're going to see a 30-day snapshot of, where your traffic's coming from and what's the most popular content. So at least to some extent, maybe you're not diving completely into Google Analytics, but to some extent, you have a pulse on how your website is performing. And then we deliver everything, using industry standard, SSL encryption, DDoS protection, and a bunch of acronyms, which if you're curious, we can talk about more, but, we don't want to glaze over, yeah. I guess. So then the other important thing to understand about a relationship with us is, for us, client support is key. And if you read, our Google business reviews, or, what people say about us, you'll find that, we're deeply committed to support. And part of the reason is because our clients have chosen us and our software. And so it's not, essentially, if something's going wrong on your website, that's impacting my business more so than if something goes wrong on your website and your website's built on WordPress. Well, that's kind of WordPress's problem. So we have skin in the game in a way I think that most vendors don't. And then something to also understand is bug fixes. If there's actually an issue on, oh, hey, this just doesn't work, those things are free. You're never paying for our time to fix those. Our platform should be, it isn't, but it should be bug-free. No software is bug-free. But when you do encounter something, let us know, and that's not going to incur any additional expenses.
So the launch of the site is going to be followed by 90 days of free support. That is standard, that always comes with the site, as well as 6 months of optional additional support afterwards. And during that time, we're available to you to help with anything that you need for helping you with editing your site, to just whatever you need. We're here to help with that. And updating your site, really, we try to make it as simple as point, click, edit. And the way that we do that, the training is that I'm going to give you is really just usually takes just like an hour or two at the most, because we've worked very hard to ensure that the editing is just as simple as possible. And after you log in to the administrative backend and navigate to the page that you wish to edit, and then click on the edit page icon that's going to show up once you've logged in, that backend interface is going to open up to the appropriate editor for whatever it is. So if it's an image, it'll open up a gallery. If you can move your mouse down the page, and if the mouse turns to a finger, like you see in this picture, that is something that's editable. Once you hit click, it'll open up whatever the appropriate editor is for that. And in addition, we really structured the site just basically around 3 things, which is pages, blog, and website data. And so for you, it's really going to be all around website data for the most part, and pages are going to be really the focus. And so it'll be pretty simple to edit. And on top of that, there's going to be help files on the site to help you easily edit your site as well.
And then in terms of hosting, we use dedicated, fully managed Windows servers. And by fully managed, that means we have a human available 24/7 at the machine level should there be some issue. We use Liquid Web, which is the world's, it's either second or third, they're constantly battling it out, but second or third largest reseller of hosting servers. We do daily, weekly, and hourly backups of file system and database, and we use Cloudflare to provide us, geographically diverse content serving. So someone in Arizona who's interested in what the Planning Commission in Southern Vermont is up to will be served just as fast as someone from New Hampshire or Vermont. Yeah, so that's our hosting, and I guess that really just brings us to whether or not you guys have any questions.
I have another question, which is speaks to how does this fit in with the WRC overall site, right? Is this it's really focused on just the regional plan portion, and how is it going to be integrated with the other material on the site? And unless I'm misunderstanding the scope of the work. So that's my question.
Matt, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I think that's a question for WRC to respond to, and not you, Cindy and Ed. And Chris, feel free to jump in or correct me if I'm misstating it, but I think
sharing the screen right now just to make it easier.
What's that?
Oh yeah, if you want to, yeah, stop the screen sharing. Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, that's correct, Edie, that this site that's being developed by Edgeworks is independent from WRC's main website. And I think the idea right now is we would link to the web-based regional plan from our main website. Currently on our main website, you can find the regional plan under the publications section. So that would be kind of revamped to introduce this web-based plan and provide a direct link from there to the regional plan website. But they are separate, totally separate sites.
Yeah, okay.
The other thing just to note, Edie, if you don't know, is we maintain our own website.
Okay, yeah, no, I didn't. And, I just am always trying to put things into context and understanding what's really kind of a separate database data set. So I was just trying to envision it that way. Thank you, that's helpful.
There is an option to deliver it as a sub domain off of your main domain. So that is always an option. So
yeah, and I know, I think that's something we talked about.
So it'd be like plan dot and what?
And I think that's something, we talked about at the kickoff meeting that we would want to, I think, and this is kind of getting into details, but like would structure it as a subdomain. So it still would be associated with our main website, but we would be linking to it from the main website. And this shows kind of the extent of my understanding of website development. So this has been a real learning experience for me.
Well, we would still host it, but it could exist as like plan dot, so it would still seem kind of like it was part of your website, but not really. Do you want to speak to that, Ed?
Yeah, it's all a miracle. The fact that it works is a miracle, man.
Yeah.
No other questions?
Not right now.
Okay. Well, if you end up thinking of any, feel free to reach out. You know, hopefully this was in some way maybe thought-provoking or instructive. And, you know, I definitely appreciate your time, and, you know, keep your eyes out for the WRC online plan. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Interesting to learn a new language.
I think Bonnie might have a question.
Oh, Bonnie.
20 years ago, I was project manager for a design company that did websites. And I have to say, this is a big project. I think you've done a beautiful job of breaking it down.
Thank you. We do a lot of websites and have for a long time. 20 years ago, I was building websites too. So, and so is that. So we've been doing it for a while.
I want to thank Matt for leading our work. I mean, there's no path to follow here. I mean, we can look at what others have done. We're breaking new ground in Vermont. Others are coming behind us, like Chittenden County, I think. And Montpelier, I think, is also in the process of developing a digital plan, but we're really having to kind of figure this out on our own. And then also the folk at Edgeworks, Cynthia and their team. I mean, this is new ground for them too, I think. But I think, you know, to some extent will become, if, you know, again, if assuming this works, and it looks like you guys are feeling pretty comfortable with this, you know, this will be the leading standard until somebody else comes along and becomes the new leading standard. But I think this is something that we should be proud of, creating a plan that, you know, hopefully is not just, you know, it's not just presenting policies, and if people actually read it, there may be some interesting information, but actually creating a plan that people can really engage with and learn from. You know, not just do a quick search in a PDF about what the policies are and then be done with it. You know, include that in their Act 250 or Section 248 application and be done with it. You know, hopefully we can actually use this as a tool, even to point towns to, and have, you know, keep adding to appendices or other things for like educational purposes, and we can draw from that as we make presentations to towns. We don't have to keep doing a PowerPoint every time, but yeah.
Great. Well,
We're excited about it. It's coming along well.
It's looking great. It's great to see it in preview mode and sort of understand how you came about with the underlying process. So I'm excited to see more. This looks like it's great progress to date, and I think it's going to be a great tool for the organization. So thank you all.
Okay.
Chris doesn't have to stay on for this meeting anymore. Feel free to pop off.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy and Ed.
Okay. Bye.
All right, so I'm going to move to the things I moved below, which is public comment. And if there's anyone who wants to make a public comment, now's the time. All right, hearing and seeing none, I'm going to move on to the minutes approval. Matt sent the draft minutes from our November 16th meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Edie. Do you have a second? Thank you, Stephen. Any comments, corrections, or edits? All right, hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Bonnie. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Oh, so cute, Bonnie. Everyone has cute things with them today. I love it. All right, moving on to a discussion of land acknowledgement statement for the regional plan update. And this is something that staff mentioned and I think has been working on a concept to bring to us today for initial discussion. So I'll turn that over to Matt.
Yeah, thank you, Gabby. This is something that Chris had raised with me a few weeks ago, just about the inclusion of a land acknowledgement statement in the regional plan. It's not something that we currently have in our regional plan. So for those that are not familiar with the concept of a land acknowledgement statement, this would be a formal statement in the plan recognizing the indigenous peoples of the region being the traditional stewards of the land that makes up the Windham region today. And it's meant to be an expression of appreciation and gratitude and a way of honoring the history of indigenous people in our region, both their history and their ongoing presence and contribution to our region. I did have a meeting with Rich Holsha from the Atui project last spring, and some of you probably know Rich. He was a WRC commissioner a number of years ago. And I met with him kind of early on in the project just to let him know that we would be doing the regional plan update. And at that meeting, he and I discussed doing a land acknowledgement statement for the regional plan. And that's something that he offered to provide support to the WRC on. And so it was something I was going to revisit with him kind of once we got into it a little further, but we wanted to bring it to the PCC just to see if there's support for including a land acknowledgement statement. We don't have anything drafted at this point. If it is something we'd like to do, I would work with Rich on that, and that's something that would be reviewed kind of further along as we progress with the project.
I am 100% in support of that idea. It's something that some of the professional organizations I've been working with for years are doing in meetings, and I think it's a wonderful and you know, as we learn, overdue thing for us to include in thinking about our region.
Thanks, Edie. I concur, Stephen.
I'm curious to see what the statement would say. I'm puzzled. The language puzzles me. Land acknowledgement statement. So I'm not opposed to it, but I don't know what I would be agreeing to quite yet. And so I think the language will matter a great deal. So I'm not opposed to the idea, but to flush it out, I'd like to see what the proposed language might be and maybe discuss more the intent of it from my point of view.
We might be able to find some examples of how this is used in other places, just to give you an idea for a starting point, if that's helpful.
That might be. I mean, I could probably, if I look it up online, and if the language is standard, if it's land acknowledgement statement, I could probably come up with some things. It's just, frankly, until it was on the agenda, I hadn't heard the term, the use of language that way. It's not just my being in a small room, I guess. I don't know.
No worries, Stephen. And I think the key is that Matt's working with Ron. And he sort of speaks or works with behalf of the indigenous peoples of the area, or sort of works to represent them and in a sensitive manner. So I think the key is that we'd be working with representatives.
Yeah. No, I've talked with Rich. I've attended some events that he's presentations that he's given, and he's always very articulate and very I don't know how, I'm not sure what the next word should be, but they're always very sensitive presentations. So I'm not opposed. I just want to know what it is.
Yeah.
Get more.
Yeah, and I think, as Edie mentioned, there are a lot of examples out there, and every statement needs to needs to be different and reflect like, the specific region and the,
Yes.
the indigenous peoples from that region, obviously. So they're not all the same, but that would be one idea, just to kind of get a sense of what they typically look like. And, I wanted to, discuss it with the PCC too, because I think, it's something we would need to work on further with Rich. But I wanted to make sure, there was interest in at least exploring the idea rather than starting that process and
Sure.
then,
I'm interested in exploring it. I just
Okay.
need to learn what I'm exploring.
I understand. Yeah.
I think that's fair. And so I think the consensus is to, tell Matt to give the go ahead to start, investigating and starting to work with Rich. I think I called him Ron before. It's been a long day of Zooms. Rich, to work on what that might look like. For us,
Yeah, it's not only what it would look like, it's what purpose does it serve in the regional plan? It's communicating something about the origin of the region.
Mhm.
And those people, excuse me, and those people who were involved in that beginning of the region. And I think that's interesting. I just want to understand the purpose better that it would play in the regional plan.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just so you know too, part of the regional plan update, one thing that we're doing is in the regional profile, which includes a short history on the region. In the past, that section has talked about the history of indigenous peoples in the region, but it's relatively short. So we are trying to expand on that a little bit to provide just more historical context for that era of history in our region. Still, the historical overview of the region, it's relatively short just because it's not necessarily the purpose of the regional plan is to provide that whole history, but we are trying to expand that section on indigenous history in the region too. And that's another area we're trying to tell that story more. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And Edie just sent 2 links, and I think I just clicked on the first one and that I think are really helpful. It's like the first one's a guide to Indigenous land acknowledgement that I just clicked on. It talks about, I think will give you at least a starting point to learn more about it, Stephen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I can find the link, or if you have a good link, you could just send it to me and that'd be great.
It's in the chat, but maybe Matt can circulate that around for us too.
I'm gonna, every time we have something in the chat, when we end the meeting, I lose the chat. So, and my photographic memory was never very photographic. So not a strong point that I had there. So
Yeah, I can send the link out tomorrow.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay. And thank you for doing that, Edie.
Yeah, thank you for raising it, Matt.
Yeah. All right. So
Can I ask just one question? Yeah. Mike, how was your drive across the country?
It was long, and some of it was really cold, some of it was really warm. It was a very strange drive, but it went better than my drive from Bennington to and from Bennington every day. So well, I'm looking forward to be in the region. That's for sure.
I'm glad, because when you said you were setting off, there was some heavy weather in the upper regions of New York, and I didn't know which route you were taking, but I was hoping you wouldn't run into tough road conditions.
We were in front of and below all the weather on the drive, so
excellent.
It was as flawless as it could
to Vermont.
Be. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Or Massachusetts, wherever.
We're staying in Bennington for the next little while till we can buy a house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super. Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you for the digression.
Oh, yeah. All right, so I think Matt has a starting point and we'll follow up on, we'll be looking for updates as we work further on the plan itself. So.
Thank you.
Nicely done, Matt. Very, very nice work.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, last item on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, Stephen. Second by Edie. Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you all for coming tonight. Nice
Thank
seeing
you.
everybody.
you,
Welcome again,
guys.
Mike.
And Happy
Thank
New
you.
Year. Happy New Year to everyone.
That's right. Happy New Year.
Have a good night,
Bye,
everyone.
Bonnie.
Thank
Good
you.
night.